Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to my tutorial. Today I'm going to explain to you how to use Selenium WebDriver on Eclipse IDE for Java. For that purpose, we are going to use a web logging module, and we are going to execute several test cases on the module. So in order for us to do that, we are going to have several steps in Selenium. First, we are going to initialize the WebDriver, and then we are going to open the browser. And then we are going to give instruction to the browser to go to a certain URL. And then we are going to execute several procedures for the test cases, like fill in the input box and click the buttons and so on. And then when we finish the procedures, take the actual output, and then we are going to compare it with our expected output for the test case. So if it matches, it's going to be success. If it doesn't match, it's going to be a failed test case. And finally, we are going to quit the WebDriver. This is the problem that we are going to use for this tutorial. The instruction is using the Selenium WebDriver, write test script for all the 3 test cases below. So we have given 3 test cases here. So we have to develop the automation script using Selenium in Eclipse IDE. The test cases are related to a web logging module. So we have to verify that all user login functionalities are correct. The first test case, we are going to log in using a correct username and password. The expected result will be login is successful, and user will be notified that the login is successful. The second test case, we are going to log in using a wrong username and a wrong password, and the expected result will be login should be failed, and the user will be notified to try again. Test case number 3, we are going to log in using a correct username but a wrong password, and the expected result will be the login should be failed, and the user will be notified to try again. To build the automation script for the test cases, we are going to use Eclipse IDE, of course. So this is our Eclipse IDE workspace. First, we have to create a new project. So right click here, new Java project, project name web login, and we're going to use JRE17, and you are not going to use module. Okay, make sure that you uncheck the create module info Java file, because this module will be conflicted with our Selenium libraries. So make sure we didn't create the module. Next, as usual, in the library, we have to add all the external jars from the Selenium WebDriver, starting with every jar files in the library folder. And then again, we add another external jars from outside the library folder. And then we click finish. Right, so let's have a look. Okay, we have source folder, and then we have all the jar files here, so we're good to go. Under the source folder, we are going to create a new package. Right, so this is login, package login, and then under the package login, we're going to create a class, Java class. We can call it run test case. Yeah, okay, make sure we have a public function, and then so this is where we're going to develop our automation script. Go back to my notes. So we have 5 steps here. I'm going to copy these steps and put it in my Eclipse. So this is all what we are going to do. First, we are going to initialize our WebDriver. To initialize our WebDriver, we are going to use a set property. Yeah, set property. And then this is WebDriver.com. Yeah, And then here we are going to put the full path to our WebDriver. In my case, I'm using Mac OS, so my path would looks like this. Yeah, so depending on where you store your Chrome driver, the driver for your Chrome browser that you downloaded from the Chrome website, depending on where you put it, so this full path should point directly to that file. Okay, and then we are going to create the object for the WebDriver. So now we are getting a warning here because we didn't include any library yet in this Java file. So we can just follow the suggestion given by the Eclipse. So we are going to import org openqa selenium chrome driver, and then we need to import another library, which is WebDriver. So we need two libraries here to import, WebDriver and then Chrome driver. So that's it for the initializing WebDriver and opening the browser. Next, we need to open the URL. We're going to use the driver object that we have created here, and this driver object will be the WebDriver, Selenium WebDriver, that we are going to use throughout the coding. Okay. Okay, get. We're going to use get, and then we're going to put the full URL here. So I'm going to take the URL from the question. This is the URL, and I'm going to put it here. Okay, so that's the URL. What happened here is, after the Chrome browser is open, the Selenium will instruct the Chrome driver to open the URL given using the get command. Okay, and then we are going to execute all the test procedures. Alright, so before we can write the code to execute the test procedures, first we have to try to run the test case manually so that we know what to do, what to write in the automation script. Go to our browser and open the web page. Okay, so this is the page. So according to the instruction, we're going to log in using correct username and password, and the correct username and password is Adam and the password is Adam123. So let's have a look. Adam and Adam123. So we need to enter the username, enter the password, and click login. Alright, so there are three steps in the test procedures. I repeat. First, we need to enter the username, enter the password, and then click login. So for the test procedures, first we are going to enter the username. Driver dot. Before we can enter the username, we have to tell the WebDriver where is the element that we want to key in. Right? So we have to find the element first. So we're going to find the element, and this time I'm going to show you how to find the element using ID by .id. Alright, so what is ID? What is ID? Okay. On the web page here, go to the username input box. We can right click, and then we can click inspect, and then we can have a look at the code for the username input box. So this is the code. If I can make it bigger, yes. Yeah, so this is the code. So it is input type text with ID username and name username. So this is the ID that we are looking for. What is the ID for this input box? So the ID is username. So when we know the ID, we can put it in the coding username. Okay, so now the WebDriver will find the element with the ID username on the web page, and then we're going to key in the username using send keys command, and we're going to put Adam here because that's the data that we should test. Okay, and then we're going to input the password. Okay, password. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to just copy and paste it. And what is the ID for the password? So go back to the web page and have a look at the code, and the ID for the password is password. So here is the ID password. So we can use password. And then step 3 is to click the button. So click the login button. So what is the ID for the login button? The ID for the login button, if you look at the code, is ID equals to submit button. So it should be submit button. Okay, so find element submit button, and this time we are not going to send keys because we are not going to key in the value, but we are going to click it. So we are going to use click command. Alright, so that's it. 3 steps. We are going to key in the username, key in the password, and then we are going to click the submit button. Next, we are going to verify the output. Okay, let's go back to the web page. Adam123 log in. This is the output that we get from the system. It should be congratulations, your login is successful. In order for us to compare the actual output with the expected output, we have to take the actual output and compare it. So how to take the actual output? For instance, if you look at the code for the congratulations here, the word congratulations are encapsulated inside H2 element with ID status. So we can find the elements using the ID status. What we have to do is we're going to use the driver object to find the element as usual. Find the element by ID, of course, and the ID is status. For this element, we are not going to send keys, we are not going to click, but we are going to get text. Yeah, we are going to get the text. So we are going to get what is the text inside the ID status. And then this text, we are going to call it as actual output. So we are going to create a string variable, actual output, and whatever we get from the status ID element, we are going to store it in the variable actual output. Alright, so now that we have the actual output, we are going to compare it with the expected output. So what is the expected output? Let us create another variable, string expected output equals to. So if it goes well, we are going to get this message. So the word is congratulations, right? So the expected output should be congratulations with the exact spelling. Yeah. Now we're going to compare it. So we're going to use a simple if actual lowercase a actual output. Okay, and then we're going to compare it with expected output using equals expected output. Yeah, if it equals, what we're going to do is we're going to print a message in the console saying that the test is successful. Otherwise, if it doesn't match, or if it not equal, we're going to say that the test is failed. Yeah, finally we're going to quit using the quit command. This quit command will stop all the the Selenium procedures, and then they're going to close the browser. Yeah. But before we run it, actually I noticed that the password here is wrong. It should be let's have a look. The password should be Adam123. Yeah, Adam123. So Adam123. Okay, so now let's run the code. So wait for the browser to open. We go to the URL and then we key in the username and password and click login. Yeah, so it's very quick, so we cannot really see it, but we have the output here. The test is success, meaning that when it runs the 3-step procedures, it does get the congratulation output. So the test is success, alhamdulillah. Okay, so that is one test case. How are we going to repeat the same procedures for another 3 test cases? What we can do is we can repeat this part of code from open URL until the comparing the output. So we can repeat it for another 2 different data before we can submit it, but it won't be efficient. In order for us to make it efficient, we have to create a method or a function. So I'm going to create a function here. It's a simple void function. I'm going to call it test case. Okay, test case. All right, so this is the function. What we're going to do is we're going to take the URL, this part of the code until here, and put it in the function. Okay, all right, and then because the driver object, we're going to use it throughout the class, I mean in the main function and the test case function, so it has to be a global variable. So instead of declaring the variable under the main function, we're going to declare it under the class, so that it will be a global object that can be used throughout the class. Okay, and because we are using a global object here, we have to use a static function, and it should be a static object, static global object. Okay, so now what happened here is that in the main function, we are going to initialize the web browser and then the web driver and open the browser, and then we are going to use the object of Chrome driver in test case function. So from here, we are going to call this function. Instead of hard coding the data inside the this method, we are going to use variables so that we can send different variables for the test case to test. Right, so we're going to send 3 things actually. First, we're going to send username, and then password, and then the expected output. So yeah, so we're going to use these 3 variables, and we're going to put the username here. This is username, and we're going to put the password here, and we're going to put the okay, so we can exclude this expected output because we are going to get the expected output from the function parameters. Okay, so that's it. And then what we need to do next is to call the function. Yeah, call the function. So we're going to call the function here. Execute the test cases. Okay, how are we going to execute test cases? Test underscore case. Yeah, and then we're going to send all the required parameters. So for the first test case, the username will be Adam, the password will be Adam123, and the expected output will be congratulations. Yep. Okay, so we have a warning here. This is because we are using a static global object, so we have to use a static function here. Okay, so that's settled. So this is test case number 1. Yeah, if we have a look, this is test ID test case number 1, and then we should have test case number 2. What is test case number 2? John and John 789. So for test case number 2, we're going to use username John and password John 789. And for test case number 3, we're going to use Adam and password XXX456. Okay, this is test case number 3, Adam XXX456. So, and the expected output is login fail. Yeah, for test case number 2 and test case number 3, the expected output should be login is failed. So how are you going to know whether the login is failed? So let's go back to the web login module, and then let's test. Yeah, John 456 or whatever. Yeah, so we should get login fail, please try again. So how do we get this? Right click and get inspect. So luckily it is inside division, and the ID is status, so we can still get these elements using status ID. Yeah, alright. So, and the text will be login fail, please try again. So the expected output is login fail, please try again. Login fail, please try again. Okay, so that's it. We can run many test cases here just by calling the function test case and sending these 3 variables or 3 values. So let's try it. Run Java application. Test case number 1, test case number 2, and test case number 3. Yeah, so we have the result here. Test case result success, test case result success, and test case result failed. One of them failed. But if we look at the output in the console here, it is quite confusing. We don't know which test case is success, and we don't know which test case is failed. In this case, it's easy because we only have 3, so we know the last one is the third test cases, right? But to make it easier for us to read the output, why don't we send another parameter here, and I'm going to call it TCID. Yeah, test case ID. Send test case ID to the method so that we can print it anywhere, so that we know what kind of test case it is. Instead of putting test result here, I'm going to put it TCID plus. Yep. So same here, TCID plus. So it's going to print out the test case ID here and what is the status, whether it is success or it is fail. So here we have to send the ID. Okay, take this ID and then send it as a string parameter. Alright. Okay, same goes here, test case 2, and same goes here, test case 3. Okay, so now let's run it again. Okay, we open the browser. Okay, run the first test case. Alright, the second test case, alright, and the third test case. So yeah, so test case number 3 is failed. What is test case number 3? Test case number 3 is to log in using correct username and wrong password. So we are using a wrong password. It should be failed, but instead we are getting congratulations, the login successful. So it is a failed test case. Back to the browser. Okay, let's try it with Adam and XXX456. Yeah, instead of getting login is failed, we're getting congratulations, your login successful. So this is indeed a failed test case. As a software tester, this is not our fault, but actually this is our success because we successfully found a defect or a bug or an error in the system. So that is the purpose of doing test case, which is to detect the error before we deploy the system for the user to use. It is better for us to find the error instead of the user find the error. What we have to do after this as a software tester, we have to report the failed test case, give the system back to the developer, and the developer should do the correction. It should correct the function, and then after it's finished do the correction, we are going to retest the module, the system, and hopefully then we are not going to get a failed test case. So if everything going well, we have all the test cases success, then we can deploy the system to the client or to the user. Okay, that's it for today. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.